We're going to begin this evening with a calming activity being led by Jennifer and Beth from Anxiety Global. So at this time, I'd like you to sit back, relax, and I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer and Beth from Anxiety Global.
Thanks, Jackie. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. We are just going to start real quick because some of you may be feeling some tension and some stress since we're all anticipating and waiting for some results. Maybe you're blissfully not paying attention, but if everyone just wants to kind of shake, we're going to center here before, let's just shake out some of that stress. Give your necks a little bit of a twist. And if you've joined us before, you know, and if you haven't, this is new, but this finger pull, you're just going to start with your thumb and do a gentle twist and pull that tension, that stress, go through every finger, that anticipation, the not knowing, the waiting, where's it going next? Just pull all of that tension out of your body. Do each finger and then give your hands a little shake. All right, and then Beth, if you want to show them, because I bet a few people might be holding some tension right in your neck.
Very much so.
Yeah, so this is a new exercise we hadn't shown anyone yet. And when we originally started talking, when the series started, I talked a lot about how we have an energy system. So we have this flow of energy that is triggered when we're stressed that goes up and around our ears. So for this exercise, all you're going to do is, it's a little hard when you have, I don't know if you guys can see, like I can physically see if I take these off, but we're going to be going up and around the ears, so it's a little easier if you have them off or take them off for a second. So you're going to start with your fingertips on your temples, and you're going to take a deep breath in and let that breath out. And when you take the next deep breath in, we're going to go up and over ears. So you're going to take the breath in, and you're going to trace like you're staying on your skin. You're tracing over your ears, down your neck. Your fingers never leave your skin, to your shoulders. Let that breath out. And now I say that your hands are like claws. They're sitting on your shoulders like this. And we're going to take another breath in. And when we let that out, you're going to slowly drag your hands down over your collarbones and shake it off. So let's go through it one more time now that we know how to do it. So fingers on our temples, take a breath in, let that out. Take another breath in, we're going to trace over our ears, down our neck, to our shoulders, put our fingers like claws on our shoulders, take another breath in. And then we slowly let that out, drag that over your collarbone. And you should feel like a big relief in your body. So when we follow that pathway with our fingers, we're literally turning that stress response off and calming our entire body. So that's a great exercise you could do sitting at your desk, sitting in the car, in traffic. Just quick doing that exercise will bring that blood flow back to your brain and calm your body down.
And I always find too, sometimes I'll hang, with on the shoulders, I'll hang there for just a little bit longer, just because that feels so good.
Yeah, there's actually acupressure points along our shoulders here for tension. And by pressing on those or holding, like Jen said, a few more minutes will also help relieve that tension that you carry in your neck and shoulders. Yeah.
All right. So hopefully that brings everybody to center. And I'll pass it to Reverend O'Connor.
Thank you, Jennifer and Beth. Good evening, everyone. We welcome you on behalf of the Myrtle Collaboration team to another week in our series, Vulnerable to Victorious. It's been a rich time of learning and sharing, and we are grateful for everyone who participates. See this as a self-help and a renewal time for yourself. We're blessed each week to have different talented presenters, and our presenter this week is Reverend Tequila Legande, who, for those of us at First Church, she for many years, in fact for 10 years, served as the associate pastor and led a lot of our youth and family ministries. Reverend Aquila is currently the transitional pastor at First Presbyterian Church in Far Rockaway. But in addition to that, she's a busy person. She's a staff consultant with Ministry Architects. She's a coach with Ministry Incubators. She is pursuing a Doctor of Ministry from Louisville Presbyterian Theological Seminary. And she blogs, she writes, she speaks, she travels pre-COVID to multiple places to enrich the body of Christ. I am delighted to welcome Reverend Aquila back to First Church and to this Zoom venue. And on my screen to her right is Lola Hall. And Lola, thank you for allowing us to share in Reverend Aquila's gifts and talents. Welcome, Reverend Aquila.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, everybody. Oh, it's so good to see everybody's face. I wish that we were together in the same space, but that's all right. This is good, and we're grateful for this, for Zoom. I'm a little Zoom fatigued, but I am very grateful for Zoom because we get to be together in this way. Reverend O'Connor, it was actually like 11, almost 11 and a half years. I got to get that year and a half in there. I worked hard for that year and a half. So just a little over 10 years with y'all. It's a blessing to be back with y'all and have some Far Rockaway folks on. I'm just going to scroll to the next. Oh, there are 3 pages worth of folks. So welcome everybody. And if you're not a member of either of those churches and you don't know who I am, all you need to know is I love Jesus, and the 2 churches that I get to share with on this call are dear, dear, dear to my heart. So I'm glad to be with family tonight. So I was asked to focus actually on the chapter of the book about staying connected, about locking arms with fellow warriors. And so we're going to look at really tonight about healthy relationships and how that comes into play with our fear and anxiety. And so I don't know about you, but the past 24 hours have been filled with a lot of fear and anxiety. Anybody else feel that way? Okay, just a few people. If you don't, we want to know your secret. We want to know how you got to this point and you don't have the fear and anxiety. But everybody, you know, we've come to this point. It's not just been about the past 24 hours, but it's been about the past 7 or 8 months. There's been a lot of fear and anxiety. And for some of us, we've dealt with this, some of us for our whole lives. And so tonight, I'm going to share some personal things with you that you might not know. I'm also going to read a couple of excerpts from the book, and hopefully we'll be able to think deeply and honestly together about the people in our life. You know, it's kind of a touchy subject. If you're sitting next to the person and I say something and you're like, that's them next to me, just don't look at them, all right? Don't, okay, Claire, Norman, don't look at them. All right. I think you all probably have paper and pen or your journal or your tablet or something in front of you. I would love for you to get that out and have it because you might want to write some things down. I'm going to ask Panya, Reverend O'Connor, or Jackie, how much time do I have again? Just to make sure, how much time do I have again?
You have you get up to 30 minutes, 35.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I stay so y'all don't like at the Academy Awards start playing music and boot me off.
No, we would do that to you.
So we're gonna take a look at some relationships today. So here's my first question for you, and I don't know if it's all right for folks to unmute, but I'd love for you to talk back to me. So what makes an effective army? Right? If you're going into battle, what makes an effective army? Anybody?
With the right attitude.
Gotta have the right attitude, right? We're thinking about army, we're thinking about warriors, soldiers. What makes a good army? You gotta have the right attitude. What else?
I think the leader.
You gotta have courage.
Unity.
The leader.
You gotta be a leader.
Prepare.
You gotta
Protection.
be there, protection. Yeah.
Everyone needs to be fighting for the same cause.
That's right. That's right. You don't want to go into the war and then some people go over here and some people go over there, but the enemy's coming straight ahead. What
Right.
you're gonna get blown out, right? They're gonna just attack you from every side. So we're looking at things like loyalty, right? We want to be a part of an army. If we're gonna fight in a war, we want people who are going to be loyal to us, not get in the middle of the war and go, nah, you treated me pretty bad last week. I'm gonna go over here and fight for the other team. That's not who you want, right? So you want warriors who are loyal. Somebody said leadership or good training. You want to go in with warriors who know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. They want to go in and they're like, do I use this gun or this spoon to fight in the war? Like you want to know that they know how to use their things. You want warriors that are strong, right? Warriors who can actually do the fight, who can fight in the battle, and the ability to walk with others. Pat, you said unity, right? To make sure that we're not split, but we can walk together. So this is a pretty easy question. How handy is it having good warriors in the middle of a battle? Very, right? It is very handy to have them. You don't want to be caught out there with unloyal or untrained or weak or lone rangers. Don't you think it would be a terrible battle if one person went out and said, I'm going to fight 50,000 people by myself? Wouldn't that be awful? Isn't that just setting the person up to lose?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it would.
When you think about this, it's kind of how we go about life sometimes. We go into the middle of a battle, we go into situations all by ourselves, believing that we can do this alone. It's the same in our personal lives and very much so in our spiritual lives, in this spiritual warfare. So as we continue to talk, I want to give you a second to think about the people in your life, right? Who are don't say them out loud, but who are the people you would go into battle with? Think about your army. If you had to go fight, who would you fight with? I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to dream up your army in your head. And you see them? Can you see their faces? You see all geared up to go into battle? So now I am going to ask you to talk back to me. What is it about the folks that you imagine? Give me one word about those folks. Like, why would you want them on your side? What is it about them?
Trustworthy. Dependable.
Dedicated.
Yeah. Loyal.
One for all and all for one.
Protective.
Mm-hmm.
And then knowledgeable
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Right. We got some folks in the chat. They're disciplined. They know how to work a strategy. They're resilient. They're fearless. When you imagine who you want to go into battle with, they have all of these great qualities. Now, when you thought of those people, you didn't think of everybody in your life, right? Somebody who's got your back, right, Kurt? Somebody who's committed. You didn't dream up everybody because not everybody can go into battle with you, right? We've all had moments in our life where we've been hurt by someone, where we've hurt somebody, somewhere in our lives where we've had moments when we thought it just might be better for me to go into this fight by myself. Like, have you ever found yourself in this place where you look around, you think, is there anybody for me at this moment? You can be honest. You really can. I'll be honest with you and tell you. There have been moments where I looked around and said, is there anybody else who's willing to fight with me? Is there anybody else willing to go into battle with me? I imagine that we've all had moments like that. And moments where we let that kind of take us over and we've shut down or we've shut off parts of ourselves. And sometimes that has lasted maybe for a little while. Sometimes it goes on for a really long time. And that fuels our anxiety and our fear, right? When we try to go at it alone, when we really believe that we can do this by ourselves, and it shuts parts of us down. So I want to share a little story with you. Between my time at Jamaica and my time at Far Rockaway, there was a sliver of time where I found myself very full of anxiety and fear. Very, very full of anxiety and fear. And I was trying to discern what the next step was for myself as coaching and consulting, and things were going really great. Just got overwhelmed with fear and anxiety. There were also a lot of feelings of worry and pain, a little bit of shame and guilt, because I felt, hey, you should feel better about about where you are. This is a good place, but still so much fear and so much anxiety. And in that moment, I thought that the best way for me to combat all of this was to just shut down. I thought nobody else needs to know what I'm going through. As long as I look pretty on the outside, nobody will know what's going on the inside. And so, I said, nobody really needs to know my business. I'm going to just shut it off. If anybody asks how I'm doing, I'm going to say I'm doing great. I'm letting y'all in on a little secret because I saw you in those years and you probably asked how I was doing, and I probably said great, and I probably wasn't really great. But have you ever been in that moment where parts of you have shut down because there's so much fear and anxiety and worry that's just kind of stirring inside, but you decide, I don't want anybody to know. I'm just going to put on a nice little mask, not the mask that we're wearing now, but the real mask, so that nobody sees the real dark and lonely side. Has anybody else ever been there before?
Mhm.
I spent
Yes.
about a year in that place, y'all, in a very dark, lonely place. And of course, there were fantastic people all around me, but I really put on a nice mask of trying to do things on my own and letting the fear and the worry take me over. Instead of locking arms with some of the warriors that I knew, I decided to try to fight in the dark place alone. Instead of reaching out to the warriors that had always kind of been by my side, I shut down. And on the inside, I felt myself becoming more and more disconnected. And I wish tonight I could tell you that I snapped out of that really fast, but I didn't. I wish I could tell you that I was smart enough to go and reach out to people who I knew would help me, but I didn't do that right away. I wish I could tell you that I got it together and came out gleaming and glowing like Beyonce, but I didn't. It took a very slow and steady process that I'm still actually going through now, an intentional process that I'm still working through, even in this time, to realize that I couldn't do this by myself. I couldn't do this by myself. It was actually, we're going to talk in a little bit about different relationships we have with people. And what really kind of started to bring me out of the hole were not the folks closest to me, but a group of people I had just started to work with. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. But it caused me to take a look around at the people who were around me to see who was contributing to the draining of my energy and the filling of my energy. I had to look at my relationships, and I realized that there was some relationships that I was expecting for them to serve me in a way that they weren't meant to serve me. And so I started to crawl out of that hole by asking God to show me and lead me to the people that were the warriors for the time that I was in this hole, in this darkness, in the middle of this fear and anxiety. Lord, who do you want me? Who do you want to send me? Where do you want me to go? And so I realized that, again, like that not everybody was meant to be a warrior in this fight. And I want to tell you today that not everybody can be your partners when it comes to your fear and anxiety. Like everybody has a role in your life, but not everybody is meant to fight the same battle. So when you think back to the folks I asked you to think about, We're going to break that down. I hope you wrote their names down so that you don't forget them, or you still have their picture in your mind. I want to take a minute, and Panya, if it's okay, can I share my screen real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So, everybody moved around on my screen here. So, if you, hope everybody can see that. Can everybody see my pretty circles that I worked really hard on? So in the book, the author talks about different people that have different roles in our life. And so I kind of want to break this down quickly. When you think about folks who are closest to you, we're looking at the green circle. And these are folks who...
the kilo, we're not seeing the green circle. We're seeing your desktop, your screen.
You're not seeing the thing?
No, we're not seeing that.
Well, that stinks because I worked really hard on it. Are you seeing me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You gotta go back and open the page that you need to share, and then you click on that page.
No, I didn't. Okay, maybe if I try it this way. Did that work?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Now you
Okay,
can
yeah, all right.
now you can see my pretty circles. Yes.
Yes.
All right. So green circle. The green circle. We're talking about the people who are closest to us, right? So the people who know God and who know you the best, right? It's very clear their relationship with you. It's very clear their relationship with God. You know their heart for God. They know your heart for God. These are people who you invest a lot of time in, right? So these are people like your best friends, your partners, your spouses, some family members. Let me be clear, some family members. Not all family members are meant to be in this circle. It's not that you don't love your family, but not every family member is meant to be in this circle. And so these are folks, like I said, you invest a lot of time in. They are on your side. So when you find yourself in the middle of this battle, these are folks you know you can go to. You don't have to explain a whole lot. They get you. Do you have those people in your mind? Do you know who those people are, what they look like? When you look at the second ring, which is the third circle, you are looking at, these are folks who they know God. You know their heart for God. They know you, but they might not be folks you take a vacation with. They might not be your spouse. They might not be the folks closest to you, but they may be coworkers. They may be those other family members. They're people who might show you things that you didn't really know about yourself. Folks that you maybe don't talk to every day. And you need them in your life. You need them to show you kind of a different way. So we're thinking of maybe this could be, like I said, coworkers. This could be pastors. This could be spiritual directors, people who have an empathetic ear and also allow you to practice empathy. So when you tell them, I'm feeling this fear, I'm feeling this anxiety, they can say, you know what? I know how you feel. I've been there. I felt it before. So that's our second ring. When our third ring, which is our blue ring, these are folks who are, the author says, not clearly on your side or clearly evil, right? So they're kind of in between. These are people who may not have an effect on your daily life. You don't spend a whole lot of time worrying about these folks, all right? These are not folks that are closest to you. You're not worried about a whole lot of things that go on. You don't spend a whole lot of time with them. Sometimes they're the people in your life, the they people, we all know who the they are. They said this or they did that. But these folks need to be involved. You need to have relationships with these people because they're going to be the ones who help you to carry out what God has called you to do. They remind you of your mission. They remind you that your calling is bigger than you. They remind you to see folks the way that God sees them. I want to read an excerpt from the book. It says, the kingdom of darkness may use people to oppose God's work, but our spiritual warfare is not against human beings. I've heard Christians say in so many words to someone who disagrees with them, I am against you, says the Lord. That is an abuse of scripture. Spiritual warfare is to be used against Satan and his demons. Be excessively cautious before moving against other human beings. We can judge behavior, but only God truly knows the heart. And so that's where we kind of move into this last circle of folks who are clearly evil. They are not for you. They are there to oppose you. They're there to remind you that we are not fighting against human beings. We are not fighting against flesh or blood, but we are fighting against the spirits of evil. So I know I went really quickly through that. The only thing I want you to get from that circle is that there are different levels, there are different relationships that we need as we go through spiritual warfare in our lives. I'm going to stop talking for a minute and ask, do you have any questions or comments at this point? Anything that's sticking, anything that's not clear? No?
I have a question.
Yes.
Do those people in your life tend to change at times, or would you expect them to be the same type, same people?
I think they change. I think, we grow and we change as human beings, and I think our relationships change. So like I said, there's some family members, maybe when you were younger, you can't really talk to, but as you get older, they might be the very folks that you need to reach out to. They might be in that second circle. You might not hang out with them. They might not be the closest to you, but you realize that they have something to offer, and they direct you to God. So I think it does change. I think it changes the other way around too, that there might be some folks that they were your closest confidants when you were going through something. They were the people who you always called, and some seasons have changed for you. Some things have changed. You've experienced some things, you've grown, and they're not those folks anymore. So I think relationships do change. And I think the key is being aware of that, and really kind of assessing your relationships every once in a while. I know it sounds weird, but I think it does take through prayer and conversation with trusted, like spiritual advisors, just kind of discerning your relationships. I mean, we get caught up in a lot of fear and anxiety because of our relationships aren't in the right place. Kind of one of the next things we're going to talk about is expectations, right? So we expect for people to do certain things. We expect them to be there when we call. We expect them to understand. And sometimes when the relationship changes, we can't expect the same things we used to years ago, or sometimes a week ago. So maybe those relationships change. Yeah. Anybody else? No? All right. So, like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about expectations. I don't know about you, but I put high expectations on folks. It's something that I'm learning to deal with. I have a tendency to put really high expectations on people, and then I find myself being really, really sad when they don't meet those expectations. Sometimes I do it to myself. I put expectations on myself, and then I get really anxious when I can't meet those expectations. And so I think we got to be clear on realistic expectations that we put on folks, right? And so we can't expect for everybody to do everything. We can't expect for every person to answer every call, for every person in our inner circle, any circle, to have the answer that we want when we want it. And so to Ravine's question, there are different seasons of our spiritual lives and our physical lives and our mental lives. And so those expectations will change. We also, I think we find ourselves struggling with fear and anxiety because we look for other people to fix us or fill us, right? So we're looking at our spouse to fill us, or we're looking at our parents to fix us. And then that creates a whole nother world of anxiety, right? We're looking for somebody else to do the work that really we're called to do, or we're looking to people to fight our battles for us. And so I think probably one of the most clear examples is a parents and their children, right? So their kids like, just fight it for me. That was a question I used to ask my dad. Dad, just fix it. I know you can. Like, you just fix it for me. But you know, in healthy relationships, it's not about fixing it for them. It's not about being able to feel the other person, and it's not about fighting the other person's battle. It is about standing with them. It is about listening to them, but it's not about fighting their battles for them. Any questions or comments before I go on? All right, I'm gonna keep going.
This is
Yes.
Philip.
Hi.
Hi. It's nice to hear your voice. I just want to thank you for your honesty, for sharing about that dark period in your situation. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I just got to a point recently where I can talk about it. And I'll tell you how I got to that when I'm finished at the end here. But thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So there are some things that you can expect from fellow warriors, right? So that you can expect when you think about the people you want to go into battle with, you can expect that they'll have your back. Kurt put that in our chat, right? You'll expect that they will warn you of the danger signs. I'll put him on the spot. Probably won't like it. I'm going to do it anyway. Reverend O'Connor is really good about pointing out the danger signs. I think you're headed in the wrong direction. You might want to think about this thing. So those are folks that you want in your circle. You want people close enough to tell you, to hold you accountable, but also when you don't spot the danger, that they can spot the danger as well. Those might be the people in that first and second circle. So, imagine that you're in battle. You want somebody who's going to help you have eyes in your front and your back and your side. So healthy warriors will warn you of danger. The second thing that you should be able to expect from a fellow warrior is encouragement. Somebody who's going to push you, somebody who's going to help you, not fight the battle, but somebody who's going to encourage you along the way. And that they allow this to be a mutual relationship, giving and receiving encouragement. The third thing, the book talks about some more, but I'm just going to talk about these three. The third thing is your spiritual warrior partner. You want them to be able to bring you into the presence of God, right? And so it's easy to doubt when you're alone. When you're by yourself, it's really easy for you to talk yourself out of something. It's really, really easy for you to doubt yourself and the season that you're in and all these things. But when there's somebody else with you, right? When there's somebody else with you who's praying with you, who's worshiping with you, who's learning with you, who's praising, it makes you stronger. And so together you can be stronger. So, one of the reasons, Philip, that I've been able to actually share the story of my dark place a couple of years ago is because I have started 6 months ago with a spiritual director, and she's been able to help me see myself a bit clearer and to listen to God more deeply. And so her name is Gina, and Gina would fall in my second circle. So I'm not going on vacation with Gina, although she'd be really cool to go on vacation with. But Gina is somebody that I talk to once a month. She calls me on my stuff. She makes me be quiet and to be still and to listen for God. And she's taught me practices on how to do that. I would call her a fellow warrior. I'm locking arms with Gina, and she helps me to fight my own battles, but she encourages me along the way. And so I want to wrap up my little piece with you tonight with this. Prayer is, of course, wonderful. We know that prayer changes everything. We've been praying, especially for the past 24 hours, right? We know that prayer changes everything. Along with prayer, some of us need some extra help. And some of that help is beyond the pastor, or is beyond our family members, it's beyond our spouse. we need to reach out to professionals, whether that's a therapist or a counselor or a spiritual director or somebody else. And so I know that there's a stigma for folks, you know, I don't want to go into therapy, I don't want to go into counseling. But a very wise, trusted warrior that I know once told me that the best gift I could give myself is therapy. And so since they told me that, I've paid attention to that. I've had quite a few therapists, and now for the first time, a spiritual director. And I got to tell you, it's changed. It's changing everything in these past 6 months. My perspective of myself, my perspective of God and where I am. And that director has become somebody that I've been able to link arms with, that I'm very proud to link arms with. That's helping me to move along. And so when fear and anxiety comes, she's actually taught me ways to kind of listen deeper than I've ever listened before and combat it. So I'm gonna stop talking now. I hope that made some sense to you as you go into your small groups. And thank you so much for letting me come hang out with you on this Wednesday night.
Sunday service. Magdalene Lewis, same thing, Sunday service and Bible study. So we got a lot of Sunday service and Bible study, and Keisha talks about scriptures and inspirational music, listening to that daily, and just, you know, having that always in her mind helps get her through a lot of anxious and anxiety-inducing situations. And Miss Bradley, you know, she reinforced that even though she knows that she can't control stressful situations, and just so for her, a big point of connection is connecting with God, because God is in control of all of these things that a lot of us are worrying about. And so when it came time to us sharing what we're taking away from this evening, from all of our talks, what we'd like to commit to doing in the upcoming week, Geneva Hamilton, a few of us, same thing, recurring themes, share that, you know, just being more centered, not getting distracted. So praying, just whenever, it doesn't need, you don't need an occasion to do that. You'd be washing the dishes, just getting back to that place. And also, I said the same thing, starting with prayer and just having that routine before the day starts. So not starting with other things, but starting my day with getting centered, getting into prayer. Marjorie Smith said she also wants to stay connected and reach out to her circle more, which I admitted the same thing. I'm very bad with staying in touch with people. So reaching out to those people I know who love me and whom I love very much. And Faith Smith said that she wants to reach out to her new friends. She already has her morning routine with devotional and exercise, and she just wants to work a little bit more on staying in touch with the people that she's connected with most recently. So we had a great group, and I really enjoyed connecting with everyone there.
Lucy, I want to have you in every group that I'm ever in so that you can take notes and report back. Next time I'm in a group, I'm going to call you to be on the call so that you can do it. That was fantastic. Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think the two things that really kind of stuck out from your group for me was, I think you said Gwen talked about control.
Mm-hmm.
And how just we can't control everything, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. We can't control this election.
Yeah, as much as we want to, we can't control the election. We can't control, as much as we want to control our kids, we can't control our kids. We can't control our partners. We can't, there's so many things that we can't control. But there are some things that we can control. I think being aware of the differences for our own selves helps so much with anxiety. It helps so much because I'm holding on to something that I can't fix, that's gonna ruminate in my mind over and over. I'm gonna go to sleep thinking about it. I'm gonna wake up thinking about it. It's gonna start to seep into my relationships, this whole idea of control. So it's easier said than done to let go and let God. It looks really great on a t-shirt, but it's really hard to do, right? I think it's those places and those routines that we set is really when we can begin to really let go of things so that we don't attach to us, but we truly let them go. So, and I love the talk of routines. I wonder what it would look like if we also had like relationship routines, not just morning and evening, but like routines with our relationships, routinely talking to one another, routinely evaluating our relationships. So that's good. Good stuff, group one.
All right, thank you.
That's great. In just the spirit of making sure that we're conscious of everyone's time, if as the other groups share, I don't know that we need to do the part where you list everyone that was in your group. That'll just save us a little bit of time. And group two, who is the moderator for group two?
Okay, that would be me, Pat. So in reference to the first question, how good are you connecting with other believers? A lot of people were on the same page where they said it was hard to connect in the beginning, but as they invested in the person, connection became easier. They protect themselves from people, as far as isolation, protect themselves from people and not usually prone to share what kind of things. So in isolation, it's more of a protection. As far as the second question, what kinds of things do you do to feed your soul? A lot of them is a small group of being in a small group of strength of believers. Definitely not to expect a lot from people because people are people. When comfortable, being able to depend on them. Spiritual discernment, for sure, depending on people in your spiritual circle. Some people in groups are just lips, so you have to have that trust of spiritual discernment. Again, not putting expectations on people, don't know what everyone is going through. So people in your people are going through things, so it's hard to have an expectation. Another person was on the opposite side of that, saying that their mask is on now, that unfortunately, being an open book most of their lives, they have kind of went the other way and put on their mask. So they more or less have they learn more from people who may not be as spiritually connected because they're able to see their flaws. So it was sort of the opposite, and they're able to look at more of their own flaws, because sometimes people in your own circle, as godly as we try to be to one another, we still protect each other from that hurt. So when you're with a non-believer, it's more raw in your face, and your mask is able to come off for yourself, but you wear it among those who might still be a little judgmental. What kind of things feed your soul? One person was a writer, so they depend on words in the scripture. They swim in the words of God. Just that the words are renewal of our mind. The problem with our country are found in the words of God. Every day is a renewal using the words of God, and it adds to your life. Also, music and movement, dance. And we didn't really get to how often do they do them, but I'm sure they can all agree that it's an everyday process. It's an everyday. How do you compare the combat? One of the things everyone is using is being able to breathe, spend time in the word, and being able to let go of anxiousness. And the last question that we looked at, I'm like looking at two different devices. Name one thing you're going to do during the coming week. Definitely they want to continue to establish healthy relationships, keeping the ones they have, reaching out more, doing something new, staying connected with the inner circle and divine authority, feed themselves in the word, begin practicing on what feels, on what is, so then you have to practice, begin practicing the habit of things that feed your soul, continue to do the right thing to renew the faith, stay in the word, find something to do that's love and kind, that takes off the pressure. Love casts out fear. Breathe in love, exhale hate. Breathe in positivity, exhale negativity. And we just all referred back quickly to the breathing, and last week the decree, the prayer to release that negativity. We have to learn to use the power of God. We have power in the words if we don't use it. And claim the blood of Jesus. And then again, faith without works. You have to put in the work to have faith, because a lot of us doubt faith. Okay.
I think you did all that without taking a breath. That's amazing.
So I could also be Lucy's partner in taking his notes.
It's good y'all would get my life right taking notes. Yeah, that's good. And the one thing I do want to point out from your group, I love somebody's people are people. And it's like it's a very simple thing, but if we could remember that we remember that simple thing, like we all have our stuff, right? We all have our faults and our flaws and the good things about us. That might actually change the country if we just realize that people are people. We might not vote the same way. We might not believe in the same thing. You talked about maybe non-believers also, being a part of the conversation. And we can remember that people are people. We're not always going to meet each other's expectations, but everybody has a role in our life. I think
exactly.
Good stuff. Thank you, Pat.
Great. How about group 3? Who is the moderator for group 3?
We had to further divide group 3. We're having a little bit of challenge there.
Okay. How about group 4?
Okay, so that was my group. And so, with respect to connecting with others, we found that there was like different, varying comfort level with connecting with others, and to sustain that connection. And, but as we developed greater comfort level, then we would connect with others. And some of us, we had no real expectation of others, because sometimes you have a lot of expectations and you kind of get a little bit disappointed. Okay, so we talked about the kinds of things that would feed our souls, and it was so good. Reverend O said playing golf. Of course, I don't know the first thing about playing golf, but that kind of fed his soul. And what the commonality and the group with respect to what fed our souls was kind of, the diversions that we take, such as some of us like music, we like animals, camping, walking. So it was just things that could, take away from, from the stresses, so feeding our soul is getting rid of doing activities that will get rid of stressors. But it was amazing. A lot of people like music, and of course, so that was good. And we thought that we would resolve to take care of feeding our soul, take care, to relieving anxiety and stress, and that would really help us.
Yeah. I think if so, when I was writing the questions, there was actually a second part to that feeding your soul question. And the second part was, how often do you actually do it? And what would it take to make that a regular rhythm of your life? And so it's, it's easy to say, oh, it feeds my soul. This is not true of me. Y'all know me. It's not cooking. But this is the example I'm going to use, right? So if I say, oh, feeding my soul is in the kitchen, chopping things up and cooking and doing all the good stuff, but we eat out every night, I'm not really feeding my soul. It's just a really good thing to say. And so and when we talk about feeding our soul, I would love, for one of the challenges to be, how often do you actually do the thing that feeds your soul? And if it's not very much, why not? And how can you make that a part of the regular rhythm, the rhythm of your day, the rhythm of your week, the rhythm of your month, the rhythm of your year? Because it does make a difference, especially now. So thank you, Lola. Reverend O'Connor will have to teach us how to play golf.
It's interesting too. One of the things that we talk about at Anxiety Global is you know, it's easy to forget. You know, I think that's what you're saying too, when feeding your soul. So it's the moments where you remember, because we're all going to forget. We're human, right? It's that moment where you remember, and then you drop everything to turn on that piece of music or do that dance. It's not about, oh, I'll get to it, or okay, I'll put that at the bottom of the list. It's the minute you remember. Don't beat yourself up for not remembering, but when you do, you know, that's why it's important to know what that is. Definitely. How about group 5?
For group 5, Ali will be giving the summary. Ali.
Maybe he stepped away.
All right, so I'm group 6, so why don't I report while we wait for them?
Yeah, thanks, Sharon.
So we talked a little bit about, I think we all had difficulty connecting with people, especially when we first meet them, and we tend to isolate ourselves until we get to know people, for question number 1. And question number 2, as far as what feeds our soul, we had numerous things. Some people read scripture, prayer, gospel, inspirational music, meditation, exercise, running, and watching comedy. And as far as what we would do moving forward next week, into the week, some of us talked about beginning to make more connections with our relationships and meditation more. And Reverend Akila was in our group, and she shared a lot of, wait, let me come back on my video, hold on. Reverend Akila was in our group, and she shared a few meditation apps that I think everybody might benefit from. And some, let me see the names. Meditation app, Pray As You Go.
That was my pen.
Another one is Centering Prayer. Another one is Liberate. Another one is Abide. And another one is Oak. And so she shared these with us, and I think everybody will benefit from at least downloading at least 1 or 2 to, you know, see what happens. That's it.
So in our,
thank you.
I'm gonna put those in the chat for y'all. In our group, Marsha brought up a really good point about the apps and real life human people. That it would be really easy to be like, I am connecting, I have an app, but but actually do need to have relationships with folks. And so she brought up the great point of apps and things like that, books and those kind of things actually being like complementary to our human relationships. So not the whole relationship, but just, you know, kind of partnering along how we're building our relationships and how we're feeding our soul, that this isn't the only thing, but that there is actually some human interaction with real life people. So I'll keep putting those apps in the chat if they're helpful to anybody.
It's great. Who else would like to share or comment or have any questions?
I would like to comment.
Divine, you're on mute.
I'm on mute.
No, I'm the one on mute. That's what she meant. For our good, I'll just quickly summarize what we shared, since Ali is probably unavailable now. Most of the members of the group say they are comfortable connecting with other believers and do not expect that much from them. For question 2, they said prayer, meditation, and sitting down quietly is what feeds their soul. Um, and for question number 3, they mentioned that they will seeking professional help or a coach, as Reverend Akila said, will be one thing that they would like to explore. All right, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Someone had a comment. Someone was starting to talk.
Yes, it's Philip. I just wanted to share one observation, and that is my feeling that distrust has been on the increase over the years. Especially, well, in my case, I've been thinking about how it's increased since when I was younger, generally across society, and that is a challenge for Christians because we're commanded to love. That's the greatest commandment. I think that the enemies of God are purposely increasing distrust generally in society to add that tension in our lives, because we have a commandment. We are to be obedient, and that part of that is to love. It's an initiative that we're responsible for, I think. And that is an increasing tension in our lives as believers when the world wants us to distrust and God is commanding us to do something else. I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. Thanks for that comment. I want to be conscious of the time, so I will give this to Reverend O'Connor.
Okay, thank you, Beth. So on your behalf, I get to say thank you to Reverend Tequila and welcome home. You have 2 homes, not 1 home. So it's always good to be home, but thank you for blessing us. And I'd invite you, if you would like, just to close us with prayer. Once again, thanks to Panya for supporting us and ensuring that all of us can figure out how to use Zoom, and we're getting better at it. At the beginning, we weren't so good. We're getting better, so thank you. And just a word of plug to all of us. There's a lot of folks who are really anxious, friends, colleagues, neighbors, family members. Write down the names of even 3 people who you can connect with. And we've learned from Beth and Jennifer and Reverend Akila and Kimberly different techniques. Let's share some of what we've learned, because it will stop folks from going crazy. Reverend Akila, can you close us, please?
Thank you all so much. I'm a blessed woman to have 2 homes with good people who won't close the door on me, and you couldn't get rid of me even if you tried. So let's take a minute. Some of you who joined us on Sunday and Monday for our prayer revival, and on behalf of myself and Reverend Carol, Reverend O'Connor, and Jerry Taylor Brown, we want to thank y'all for coming to the prayer revival this week. We did a little breath prayer, and so that's how I'd like to end our night together. So I'm going to ask if you would just kind of put whatever you have in your hands down and take a nice deep breath. Push it slowly out. Relax those shoulders. Get your shoulders out of your earlobes. Relax your face. Any tension that might be in your jaws, just unclench those. If you notice that your hands are in fists, release them. And maybe turn your palms up as an offering to God. And let us pray. God, we thank you so very much for the opportunity to be in your presence. We thank you for this chance to be together. We thank you that you have brought us through so much to this moment. And so now, God, as we stop to breathe together, We ask that you would fill us with your spirit and your love and your grace and your mercy and your peace. As we breathe in God's peace for ourselves, I invite you to breathe out God's peace for others. Breathe in God's justice for yourself. Breathe out God's justice for others. Breathe in God's hope for yourself. Breathe out God's hope for others. Breathe in God's love for yourself. Breathe out God's love for others. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you,
Amen.
everybody. Have a good night. Please get some sleep so you can be good.
You
Bye-bye.
too.
Good night, everyone.
you.
Night.
Night.